Hi everyone, it's Dev Propulsion Labs, our podcast about the business of developer tools. My name is Victoria Melnikova. I'm the head of new business at Evil Martians. And today I'm very excited to introduce our guest, Monica Sarbu, founder of Xata. Hi, Monica.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here today with you.
I almost feel like you've traveled all the way to come to the podcast.
In a way, I did.
So I'm very lucky to have you here because you're not typically in San Francisco, and right now you are. So what led you here?
I think it's a mixture of different things. First is that we want to extend our team here in the Bay Area. One of the things that because usually I'm based in Berlin for the audience that are in Berlin in Germany, you always want to think of like how everything will go in the company if you will be here. It will be easier for you to be in the same time zone with your customers and how things will change if you will be here. And I think not only me, but many companies in Europe, they have this idea and dream, right? If I go, for example, events in San Francisco, more than half of the people that are joining events are from Europe, with a goal to meet potential customers, to make new connections and so on. So there is always this question, right? And for us, it was let's try to see if we come here for 6 months and see how things are going. And also we can, be there for our customers in the same time zone. And yeah, so we are approaching an end to this 6 months.
It's very exciting. Do you have a specific goal in mind for this trip, or it's kind of just...
No, we don't have like a specific goal in mind.
So right now there is a whole trend to be remote, but not even necessarily remote. Like I'm thinking about Lovable, for example, and Lovable sets the precedent for a lot of young startups that want to create an AI product for them to remain in Europe. Yes, hire in San Francisco to a certain extent, but not only in San Francisco, but in the US, but have the roots kind of like deep in Europe. Do you have kind of like a point on your agenda to keep the business European, or it doesn't necessarily?
I mean, the main entity that we have is an Inc. So we are a US entity. We are a US company first. And I think there is a trend in Europe. The way I see is many founders, the way they do is that they spend 6 months here in the US and 6 months in Europe. For most of the founders, that's okay. But for me, because I have a daughter, for me, it will be really difficult to move back and forth because of the school system, right? So the way I was doing it so far, I was flying back and forth often, sometimes once a month. And that's why I wanted to try. Let's see how it is for 6 months, not to travel at all and be here. I think nowadays it's more and more not so much important to be here, physically here, because anyway, even the companies that are based here, the way they do marketing and the way they reach their customers is through online, right? So no one really... most of the companies that you speak with, even nowadays, we speak with them over Zoom. We don't necessarily go and speak with them in person. So I think it becomes less important to be here physically. It's important to have support from the company to be in this time zone, to be in the time zone of your customers in order to support them, to onboard them and so on. I think we'll be able to see more and more companies grow in Europe. Of course, Lovable is a great example, and I'm really happy for them. And, there are now quite many initiatives. There is the EU Inc. This initiative, a friend of mine was supporting it, and they really is quite advanced. And I don't know if you know about this, but I think there are many initiatives in Europe in order to support more startups, because the way what's happening in the last years is that many startups in Europe, they created as their main entity a US entity, because you can easily register in Delaware and you can hire people basically everywhere.
Another startup that comes to mind is Recraft. They're based in London. I mean, I do think they have an office in the US, but in general, I feel like it's not a limitation for a company to be in Europe, right? But there comes a point where you need a part of your team to be present here, as you said, to support customers, larger customers maybe, or even to do kind of like on the ground marketing with events and things like that.
Yes.
Are you planning to do more events for Xata here in San Francisco?
That's something we didn't decide yet, but even from the beginning of the company, we are looking to hire people in Europe and also East Coast of US. So it's not something that we change now. So we are a fully distributed company from the beginning. It just happened that most of our engineers are in Europe just because, there we found better talent than here. But as we grow, I think it will be over multiple continents as well. Now we hired our first engineer in Canada, so we are extending to more countries as well.
So Monica was actually on my podcast, I want to say 3 years ago, when I was just starting this whole topic. And a lot has changed for Xata since then. Then I remember you explained it as Airtable for databases.
Yes. So the initial pitch that I had was that we wanted to build something between as easy to use as an Airtable, but as powerful as a database, somewhere in the middle. So I had this slide where you're positioning, here is the database, here is Airtable, and we are in the middle. And our audience back then was builders. And now basically we shifted completely. I think this is something that maybe you would like to discuss about.
Let me put it like this. The database market is very intense. So some of the names that we know, like Supabase and PlanetScale and Neon, there is a lot going on the internet. There are feuds. It's very, it's very intense. And Xata was never part of this feud. It was always kind of standalone, kind of completely different solution. And now with this whole surge of the AI, I don't know, wave, let's put it like that, we know that both PlanetScale and Supabase are serving to those AI customers growing, right? For example, Supabase is the backbone for the vibe coding projects, a lot of them. PlanetScale is targeting more bigger clients that are scaling and enterprise clients. What happened to Xata? Where does Xata stand? From what I understand, you've pivoted. What is the new product? Just walk us through kind of the new Xata.
Yeah. So basically, when we started, we target the builders and small companies, and we build the platform in such a way to offer a free generous tier plan, and we still have the most generous free tier plan. And then we realized that, as Postgres grew in popularity and our customers have different requirements, they wanted direct access to Postgres. Initially, we didn't give this direct access to Postgres. We realized that we cannot really build the functionality that we wanted for SMBs on the old platform. So we decided we took this decision to basically start over with the platform. So we had a few open source projects that we built around, but we said that we want to build, if we'll have started from scratch, what type of platform we'll build. And we build a very flexible platform that allows us to build features specifics for SMBs, for larger companies. And also that is very flexible. That was very important for us. That allows us to build easy features on top of it. And now we have launched this new platform in May this year. And, the feedback is very great. We have already customers that are running with us in production. And in terms of customers that we are targeting, we are not targeting builders with the new platform anymore because we have different types of functionality, and I can go into more details on that. And we are targeting basically the sweet spot, I think, is SMBs for us, but it can be anyone from company that has free developers to enterprises.
So let's talk about functionality. What is the new Xata? What does it do?
Yeah, so we are a modern Postgres platform that lets developers create a database branch with anonymized data from production for each feature or pull request. And this basically removes the bottleneck of staging environments. It gives developers increase the velocity of development and also gives this confidence the developer need to push features in production. And I think this workflow becomes even more important when we are discussing now about coding agents because the scale is really much larger. And I think it's important to give the coding agent a safe environment where they can test end to end with real data from production without, human interaction. And I think it's important to do this without messing production and doing it in a database branch. And yeah, this is one of the use case that we are pushing, and we want to be part of the developer workflow of companies and to use us for development environments, not only for production environments, as all the other companies are serving customers for.
I'm really interested in how you defined what the new feature set would be for Xata. Was it something like user feedback sessions that you did? How did you get that information? Or is it just purely your hypothesis and kind of like understanding of the market? Share us the kind of like behind the scenes.
I think that's a very good question. And I think we learned this by speaking with a lot of technical leaders, VP of engineering, CTOs from small companies, technical leads, and VPs from larger companies, enterprises, and so on. And it was interesting. At the beginning, we were asking them a set of questions like, what are the problems that you are facing with Postgres and so on? And most of the people asked, like, we don't really have any problem, like Postgres is really performant and so on. And then we changed the question and we asked, what is your main problem in the company? And all the leaders are like, the main problem that we have is developer velocity. And this kind of triggered us that there is something missing, why there isn't any other solution on the market. We have companies nowadays that come to us and like they are looking at our website and like, why no one did this in the last 10 years? And yeah, we want to be that company and to solve this workflow for developers.
So another point that I remember from our previous conversation, you said something like, we focus on the product. We don't necessarily do much marketing around it, and the product is going to speak for itself.
Yes.
Do you still stand by that?
Yes.
How do you make sure that the product is good?
So yeah, we don't have sales team. So everything is coming inbound. Yeah, I think it's very important to have a very good product. And, you see customers using it and facing problems. So we immediately, fix those bottlenecks for customers. I think for me, this was the number one, goal when building a product, to make it easy to use. Because if you make a product that is very difficult to use, no one will make it. It doesn't matter how good and how performant the product is if no one is going to use it. So for us, every time like we have discussions with developers, user experience, this is very important for us. And we literally spend a lot of time and resources on making this, like making it easy to use, thinking of ways how to make fewer steps in order for the customer to be successful.
So that's interesting. We talk about this internally a lot because for us, developer happiness and developer productivity are kind of like the main thing. That's our kind of biggest chip on our shoulder, let's put it like that. But when it comes to technical founders, they don't necessarily like to think about that, to be honest. Like a lot of the times what I hear is that my technology is great. If they can't figure out, they're not my customer. It's that kind of sentiment. What would be your advice to such founders? And maybe do you have any practical tips as to how to approach your product with a new set of eyes, with a set of eyes of a potential customer?
I'm very critical of the product, so I always see things that I need to improve. I think it depends on the people that you have around it. And I can tell you that all my career, I struggled to hire tech leads that have this feeling of a product, of building a product. I think many technical leaders or technical people in general, they are excited about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to build this, I'm going to use this architecture because it's so cool and I'm so excited about this. But in the end, what it does matter is that, you have to think about building something that is useful, first of all, but also easy to use. I think it's just about the people and finding the right people. If you as a founder don't have a critical eye for a product, I think it's important for you to hire the right people that have this. And I was kind of in a lucky situation that, I brought with me the leadership team from Elastic. So I grew the team there, and I think it does help, right? So our CTO is just amazing. He is just not only a very good technical person, but also he has an eye for AI, for a product and what the developer will be interested to use. And I think you need to have not only a good eye for a product, but also a vision, what you think that this might be useful for developers in a few years, because it will take time to build in order to be there in a few years. So I think it's just a matter of be surrounded by the right people.
And when you think about like the goodness of a product, is it specific metrics that you measure, or it's kind of like a feeling that a team should have?
A feeling, but also we have, we look at sessions, how customers are using our product and what are the features they are using more. There is also a feeling, right? Because right now we see that customers, like, they continue to use our product more and more. So this is a good indication that they like the product when you see that they are not churning, but they are using more the product. And, there are all these indications. So of course, for us, even in this situation where, let me say, we only have positive signals that everything is going well, we still put a lot of effort in making it work. And I think this is not something that you do once. We have internally a project that we call onboarding that basically thinks about continuously how we can improve the user experience and what are the things that we have to implement on the backend side to make this move for people, either in the UI or the command line interface.
So if we talk about the pivot, we kind of briefly discussed that aggressive marketing is not something that Xata is known for, right? You don't necessarily do aggressive marketing, but let's say you decided to pivot your product. How do you handle the pivot and make sure that people that have been using Xata are not taken aback by it? And, how did you handle that transition?
Yeah, that's a very difficult situation that we are in, because we have lots of users on an old platform and now we are transitioning them on the new platform. Of course, the new platform won't have a free tier plan, and we don't have the same functionality in the new platform versus the old platform. But we gave them a very generous package. And yeah, we try to do as much as possible to make them happy. And of course, it's not a nice thing and an easy thing, especially there are companies that, they run their application on all the platform. But yeah, it's a very tricky situation.
So what would be your advice? I mean, and this advice applies not only to this, but in general, something that we also talk to our clients about is how to raise prices gracefully, and how to, for example, get rid of a free tier gracefully, how to introduce a paywall gracefully, like how to monetize your product better. I think this could apply to all of those situations.
I think it depends on the audience. So if we'll have, for example, build a new platform also for the same audience, we'll continuously have like a free tier plan. Well, we changed completely the audience, so it doesn't really make sense for us to have a free tier plan. We have 2 weeks free trial, but we don't have a free tier plan. And I can tell you a bit, I think for us, it fits much better as a company and as leaders to not go after builders. I mean, my entire experience is from my entire career, I was, building products for companies. The goal initially was to start with builders and then go and support companies. So we didn't want to go after builders. I think Supabase is doing an amazing job in supporting builders. And I think you as a company need to choose. Either you go after builders or go after SMBs and companies. I don't think you can do both, because I feel like it needs to be the founder and that is able to understand that audience better. It's just for us, it's much better fit the audience, the ICP, if you want, the companies as audience, and also the team that we have. That we have a very strong technical team internally, and they are more excited to build features, more complex features for larger scale companies. Yes.
Something that I talk to founders a lot about is this concept. Zena Rocha shared it, and the idea, it's called genius zone. So basically, each person has a set of skills that comes naturally, very easily to them. Ideally, when it's multiple founders, they complement each other with those skill sets. So when we talk about you, what is your genius zone? What are some tasks that come naturally for you? And what are some skills that you're strong at, but it didn't come hard to you?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question. And to be honest with you, I was not sure about myself either. Like many years ago when I was working at Elastic, I went, because back then, me and our CTO, we were leading together teams. And when we started to introduce titles in Elastic, I went to our CEO, Shai Bannon, the CEO of, now CTO of Elastic, and went and asked, what should I be and what Tudor, our CTO, should be. And he thought for a second, and he said, you are good at people. You should be the people manager. And he's a very good technical person. So he should be the tech lead. So I think at that moment, I realized that I should, it happened naturally like this, that I was doing more like everything related to people manager, project, and so on. And since then, we are trying to, complement each other. And I do more of that part, and he's doing more of that part. I think it's important for people to do what they are good at, and for me, it's this is, I was also a very good engineer. Back in the days, I was a C developer, and that's why it was harder to decide where I should be. But I think, what people like about me is being a manager and being like a people manager. I usually don't think about these things so much, because I like my team not to think about me as a CEO. I want them to think as, another team mate. And, because I always do these one-on-ones with everyone in the company and try to make them feel comfortable to come to me with any kind of problems. So I think titles and these are not very important. I think it's important to kind of encourage people, see their strengths and encourage them to do that more, what they're comfortable with, and not come with random goals for people that they are not comfortable with. So I think you have to. I answered quite a lot.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting, because I think you're the first founder who talks a lot about the happiness of people and the comfort of people that you're overseeing, basically. And this is very interesting to me. And you mentioned that you're an extrovert, which is also quite rare in this industry. I would say for technical founders, it's not common to be an extrovert.
I had to learn how people feel. Not too many meetings, but for me, it's very. It doesn't bother me to have many meetings and interactions with people. Yeah. I had to learn that other people function differently.
Yeah. So it's interesting that those interactions actually fill your cup, right? You feel great after talking to people.
Yes.
And I mean, even reflecting about myself, I remember that when I joined Evil Martians, it's a very technical team, right? like really great engineers, and I really felt like an outcast in a way, because I felt like my skill set is not needed. That I have great soft skills, but they're not necessarily needed at the company. And I remember how my colleague Amanda told me that it's a culture add. The company needs you because you have those skills that for other people, they come less easy, and because it comes easily to you, you don't realize how important it can be, for a team or for a company, which was not like, it took me years to understand that, because I felt like, oh, I should be also technical and like this, very, reserved and things like that. So it's interesting that you had somewhat similar experience, and it was, you kind of like discovered that that's your strength.
Yeah, I think someone else discovered it for me. But you have to start somehow, somewhere. I think it's more important if someone else is telling you, because it's just reassurance that you are on the right track.
So how big is Xata now? How many people do you have?
We are 25 now, but we are growing quite a bit now.
So what's your day-to-day looking like with the team? Do you have just meetings every day, or you have to make trips to San Francisco? What do you do on a daily basis?
I'm very strict in how I spend the time. So I do meetings. I start at 6 a.m. because the team is most of the engineering team is in Europe. So I have lots of meetings in the morning. But I think it's great here because I have time to concentrate more in the afternoon. So I do a lot of things. So it's, as a CEO, you kind of have to jump from a meeting with the lawyers to a people problem or project problems or roadmap discussions or, lunch and branding or a website. I don't know. I do a lot of stuff. And I also deal with, finding people for our team. I think I spend a lot of time with recruiting. And so I do a bit of everything. What I don't do, I don't write code.
What are some qualities that an ideal candidate for Xata has?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. So for us, we have a high bar for hiring people in the company. And for me, the most important skill is that we always look after either technical leaders or engineers, ex-founders that are able to drive projects by themselves. I am kind of against me as a person, as a manager, if you want, to give tasks to engineer. And this is not only in Xata, it also happened in my teams over my career. When I was I was kind of leading more or less my entire career. Basically, it's very important to hire. Basically, if you want, we hire after this profile. But not after the skills. Like, I like to hire people that have complementary skills. I think it's very important to have, because if you have the same profile, all the engineers have the same profile, then you're going to build project in only this way. And then you have to imagine that your audience is diverse. So for me, it's important diversity. And I learned that not only diversity in like gender diversity, but also diversity in education and so on, in order to make like a very good product. I think it matters everywhere. And also gender diversity. I think this is very important. And I've noticed in my career that when you have a diverse team, a gender diverse team, you tend to have better products.
When we talk about those high agency engineers and high agency technical leaders that you mentioned, autonomous leaders, do you think that's a skill that can be trained, or it's something that person just is born with, or I don't know, raised with?
I think that's a very good question. I don't know if it's born with, but I think it depends how the evolution of that person was. I feel like people need to be confident in themselves to be able to be in that role and take even if maybe they are not very confident, but they want to lead a project. And, I know people that they didn't believe in themselves, but they were excellent leaders. And I think it's important. I noticed this in my career over and over. When you give someone the trust to lead a project, they will do amazing. I think it's just your perspective, in trusting them and let them lead the project. And then, they have to, and most of the time they do an amazing job.
I liked how you said that you basically like to delegate, from what I hear. You like to hire people that are really high agency and they take ownership of the project going forward. Was it always easy for you to delegate? Like, is it kind of like, oh, I found this person, I have trust in them, so I'm giving them all my faith for this attempt to do the project? Like other benchmarks at, certain benchmarks that you check them on later on? Like, how do you see whether it's not working out? Do you have any tips as to how to delegate and give that trust to a new person?
Yeah, so usually I trust everyone, at the beginning, and can kind of give them the power to lead. And then if something it doesn't work, then you're going to see it. But usually I prefer I wouldn't say to delegate, but basically you can't do it all. And I see myself in instead of me spending 20 minutes of my time thinking about problem, you will do a worse job regardless of how good you are on doing this. But someone that thinks about this problem 24 hours has realistically higher chances to do better. So that's why I think it's important to kind of split responsibility between different teams and different people as well. And that's why the way we work in our company is that we have projects and we have everything is a project and we have project leaders. And every project has a weekly sync or bi-weekly, depending on how big is the project. And usually it's a project lead and multiple people from different teams that are part of that project.
And you said that you're very critical of the product as well. How do you handle feedback? How do you give feedback? Do you tend to be, because you seem like a very caring person, do you try to be nice about things, or you're a straightforward kind of feedback giver?
Yeah, that's a very delicate problem, right? I always see things that can be improved, right? But it's very difficult to give feedback, right? So you have to be careful, especially, if sometimes people think, the CEO gives feedback. And so you have to be very careful with that, how we provide feedback, yeah.
So no recipe, no kind of secret recipe that works for all.
No, I think you have to adjust, you have to be careful how you say it.
Yeah.
But in most of the cases, I think, they say that we don't really have problems. I had problems in the past. It depends on the person. Some people take it very offended if you give feedback. And I had a very serious situation in the past where me and our product lead was trying to convince this person to change a week.
Yeah.
We spend a week. But I think it depends on the people. It's very hard to give a recipe. The way I do everything in the company is that every person is different. The way I structure the one-on-ones with everyone, so I do one-on-ones with everyone, and I want to do one-on-ones with everyone regardless of the size of the team. Now I do once a month, and it will come less than that, but rarely than that. But I think it's important to do the one-on-ones with everyone, and yeah.
Do you have a recipe for a one-on-one? The reason why I'm asking is because a lot of people struggle with one-on-ones, especially when, let's say, I'm a junior new hire and I'm talking to a CEO, how do I make sure that, I don't know, it's actually valuable for both of us, right? Or for a manager, a lot of the times the struggle is to follow up on the things that you discussed, especially if you're not making decisions on certain things. So do you have any, maybe like a template? It's kind of like, what are some things that you do in one-on-ones that you find are helpful for the team?
So every one-on-one is different in the sense that I adjust based on the person. Some people prefer to talk more about this. They like to know more about the business. They would like more to know about the family stuff. Everyone is different, and you have to adjust based on the person.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, I encourage people to come with a set of questions. Most of the time, they don't come with a set of questions. I also had I had situations in the past that people didn't want to do one-on-ones, so I didn't do one-on-ones. So not with Xata, but before in my career, you cannot apply the same template for everyone. You have to adjust based on the person and their way of, being. Some people are not very comfortable to share everything. And yeah, you have to respect that, and you have to make it different for them.
You mentioned that the team is distributed, right? So you're not all in the same time zone even. Do you have any offsites, or do you have maybe any traditions that can be online or whatever it is that really serve your corporate culture? Like, are there any ways to make sure that everybody is aligned and feels good in the moment working at the company?
I mean, most of the engineers are in European time zone, so we have quite a bit of overlap. Everything is asynchronously. So, there is a different way how you lead a team fully distributed. We don't hire juniors, so we hire from senior and above. So this makes it easier. I think because of our nature of being fully distributed, I am a bit worried to hire more junior people because I feel like you need to be there for them and mentor them more. And I think being physical together with them in a room, it's important. And I don't want to make a bad impression for them working in their first company. I think this is a very high stake for us there. So we are not doing this, at least for now. Yeah. So we are fully distributed and we do everything. I think we meet twice a year, face to face. And at this point, because most of the people are in the company for many years, we know already the plus ones, the kids and so on, and everyone is coming. The way we do it is that we also invite the plus one and the kids. So we have a bigger group. And already, there are some activities that the plus ones are always organizing while we meet and discuss about roadmap and things like this. They meet and do different activities. They already had a few offsites that spent together and they really like it. So everyone is so happy about the offsite. I think we did a great job in organizing great offsites so far. And we do them usually in interesting locations, most of the time in south of Europe. But we did also Iceland.
Wow.
This year we started with Iceland and we went to Rome. Next we go close to Paris. So we do them in different locations. And for us, it's important to spend time, to know each other. And at this point, we kind of know each other very well. For me, it's important to also have the family over, especially smaller kids come. The kids, as they go older and go to school, it's more difficult to bring them because of, it's hard to get kids out of school in Europe. I think it's a very fun time for everyone, and everyone is like looking forward. So what we have special, I feel like, because we have a higher percentage, almost 40% female in the company. We always start the offsites with a welcome dinner or welcome cocktail party, something like this, and everyone dress up. Not everyone, I would say the ladies are preparing months in advance their outfit.
That's so fun.
The guys are like, okay, we are we are more relaxed on this matter, but I think this is something special that we do, and they feel so excited about the idea of working with other ladies in different projects, but also doing something more feminine in this kind of events.
Speaking of feminine, I want to talk about the head. I just want to show it. Look how beautiful this is. Like, to all the people in the Silicon Valley Bay Area, this is gorgeous. Let's talk about this. What does the emblem mean and the colors and everything? I just want to know all about it.
Basically, the logo means a butterfly, and it's a butterfly because this is what I was able to draw. In my previous startup, I had a fish, and now I have a butterfly. I have limited skills in what I can draw, and basically the idea was to build something light in order to, like, the idea of easy to use. The color, initially we had multiple colors similar with the Elastic logo. And then we changed it to unicolor because it became difficult with swag and everything. And then I chose purple, and not because it's my favorite color, but because it was my daughter's favorite color back then. Now it's not anymore. She is into other colors as she grew up. But yeah, I wanted something feminine because this is what defines us, and we want to stand out with this and kind of have a different swag. We have a different swag. We stand out with our swag, and we want that to make a difference.
I feel very seen because you brought like a whole care package for me, and I will wear it, I promise. Do you find that people at the company wear your swag a lot, or?
Yes. I mean, this is something that I also spend time with, trying to make sure that we have really great swag. I remember a few years ago, we had for guys different colors of t-shirts, like from pink, green, like light green, so different colors. And, some prefer to wear those colors. Some prefer only black. And I think we need to have a variety of those. But yeah, people are wearing the swag, and we put a lot of effort in trying to make sure we are buying the right swag, and which sometimes is very difficult for us, especially that we are in Europe. And most of the high quality swag is based in the US, but we have different ways how to do this.
I know that Portugal has some places that do like fabrics, and for example, they saw like Massimo Dutti stuff. So I'm sure there are like secret spots where you can outsource.
Many times we had custom swag that you cannot really find. But for example, bags, we have a Louis Vuitton small bag that everyone likes. It looks like Louis Vuitton, but it has the patterns of the butterfly.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yes.
Every time I have an interview, it's kind of I feel like it's a treat for me because I get to see your personality just right here, just to myself. And I feel this kind of soft power, that's how I would describe you. And I think it's very new to me because I typically speak with men, and that's not the vibe I get. So I feel like I'm seen, I'm cared for, and I'm sure that your team also feels that energy from you. So this brings me to my final question, and I call it warm fuzzy question. What makes you feel great about what you're doing today?
I think for me is the team around me. It makes me feel great. People, I think what define a company, the product that we are building, and also customers. This is what makes me feel great. Yeah, if you have this free, then I'm happy as well. Yeah, and then we are successful.
Mm-hmm. Finally, I want you to invite people to try Xata, and maybe once again, give us a short pitch. What is it great for, and how can they find it, how they can become a user, maybe bring it into their org?
Yeah, so if you are using Postgres, what we allow customers to do, especially large customers, is that they can keep production where it is, for example, in AWS RDS, and they can try us for their development workflow. So, for example, they can create a production clone with anonymized data from production, and then from that production clone, They can create database branches with anonymized data for each pull request. And this is fantastic because really increases the developer velocity and gives the confidence that developer needs to push and deploy features in production faster and safer.
Nice. We all need to be more productive, I think.
Yes, I think, if you want to try it out, just go to Xata.io. Give it a try. And we'd love to hear your feedback. We are also curious to hear not only good feedback, but also bad feedback, things that we can improve, features that we can add. We are always curious about.
Perfect. Thank you, Monica.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for catching yet another episode of Dev Propulsion Labs. We at Evil Martians transform growth stage startups into unicorns, build developer tools, and create open source products. If your developer tool needs help with product design, development, or SRE, visit evilmartians.com/devtools. See you in the next.